Never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
The needs of working families in the middle class, not just the billionaire class. We know what's going on. We are paying attention.
Good morning, everybody. It is a Saturday, and it is an interesting week. Lots of stuff going on. We just had our show on the KDEM convention that was packed with all sorts of information about corruption, and we will get into all of that stuff later. Tomorrow, actually, Larry Taylor is going to cover more of that with Andrew Becker, who's a parliamentarian out of California, and he's going to talk about that. He's actually got a lot of jobs in the Democratic Party in California. But this show, today's show, is about bees and about the climate, mostly, and a little bit from Germany. Laura Livengood's not feeling well, so she's not here today. And Amos is off at a rally, I believe, so it's just going to be us. And I have a special guest with us. It's Brian Lacy with Urban Bees and Gardens. And what you're looking at, the picture here, we'll bring Brian on in a second. But I just want to show you that this is, that's my living room. And that's Brian. And that's a box of bees. And he did put them in my living room. And this is the outside where you basically got a hole and a whole bunch of bees. And yes, we did this on purpose. And I'm going to explain why in a second. But please welcome Brian Lacy and Marcus. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Hey, John. Hey, Marcus. Glad to be back.
Good morning, America. Good morning, Brian. Hey, John.
Hello, Germany.
Thank you all for being here. And good morning, everybody. And Laura Livengood is in chat, everybody. So she's hanging out there. And you guys are going to have to keep control of yourselves. I got nobody. We're not going to be monitoring there. So just behave. All right, behave. So, Brian.
John.
This is, I just want to tell everybody that this is an observation hive we're looking at, and Brian's going to answer a bunch of questions about it, but it's the coolest thing I've ever put in a house. I'll just say that. It's the coolest freaking thing, and if you're willing to do it, and you can swing it, and you're near Brian, because I don't know, first question for you, Brian, is, does anybody else do this? Are you like a unique beekeeper in Oregon to do this?
I don't know the answer to that. My guess is no.
Yeah, cool.
I've never done it would be interesting to do. I will take it upon myself to whip up a little survey, and I will pitch it around to find out who else in Oregon or the West Coast has observation beehives in their house.
That'd be great. That'd be great, because you made it sound like they only went in, or that you had mostly put them in schools, right?
Right. Yeah. There are 3 schools in the Portland area that I have put in observation hives, different design. The observation hives usually are just 2 frames wide and about 4 frames high. Oh. So a total of 8 frames. It's not as sustainable a shape. A slender, long home is harder to maintain the proper temperature and all than something that's more spherical like yours. Okay. So you've got a much better shape of hive.
Well, and it's okay. So the story on how I ended up with what I have, and just to explain to everybody, it's not a box. It's not one of those. What Brian's talking about is I don't have like framed like you see normal beekeeper boxes. This is a piece of tree from his yard with real beehive already on it, right, Brian?
Yeah. So let me briefly tell you how your observation hive came to be. I was called to go to Southwest Portland last year, fairly late, I'd say July, because bees had not only swarmed to a large, one of these sort of ornamental property dividing sorts of shrubs, but they're tall shrubs.
Right.
But they'll grow limbs, good 3-4 inches thick. And the growth pattern of this particular shrub was it would leave the main trunk and immediately go upwards. So everything is sort of like, don't shoot, hands up sort of thing. That's how this particular plant grows. And the leaves are very tiny, like a cedar. So it looks like a cedar spliced with a shrub. Anyway, these bees had been in there for at least 4 to 6 weeks. They had built a monstrous amount of comb, and they would not have survived winter because in Portland it gets cold and rainy, and bees have got to have something that's warm, dark, and dry for them to make it through the winters. It'd be different if they were, in Ecuador or something like that.
Right.
They could live out in the open, but not so up here. So I went to the local hardware store. I got plywood. I got plexiglass. I got clamps, 90-degree clamps, and I measured out. I climbed up the ladder and I measured out sort of the dimensions needed to put those bees and their comb into a box, which I did. And so the box that you showed at the top of the show is what I lowered. So I cut them away from the rest of the tree and I lowered them down into that area and secured them in there. Now, about a month later, the bees that were in there last year, they did what beekeepers call absconded, meaning they all left. Why, I don't know. They decided to leave. They only flew to my next door neighbor's backyard. I was called by my next door neighbor. I grabbed them, I put them in another hive, and they've been fine there. But it left this box with lots of comb, but no bees. And of course, you and I had already arranged that I was going to do this last summer, but it didn't come out because the bees left.
Right.
So this year I was waiting around, and swarms arrived very late in the Portland area this year. So I've been just waiting around for a good, strong swarm. And of course, one finally showed up out of one of my trees, which I think I sent you the photos of. So one of the photos, you may have a picture of the ash bee tree from which there was last year's queen left with a bunch of her daughters to populate a new hive. And they landed in my quince tree, nice and low to the ground. I put those bees, I shook the bees from the quince limb into a cardboard box. And then my roommate Taylor and I, we unbolted one of the plexiglass panels, pried it up a little bit, poured the bees from the quince swarm that had come from the ash bee tree into the observation hive, and just let them live there for a while until I was coming down to Corvallis to put them into your front living room.
That's amazing. I mean, you were talking about how you had to cut the piece off and kind of swing it into the box, and that. And you were saying before that this, and we'll talk about the difference between what we're going to do with this hive and what what you would do with a box hive, because I'm not really going to collect any honey out of this. But your tree, I forget which one at your yard, you said it swarms once or twice a year, right?
Absolutely. Yes, at least once, often twice.
And that's basically, they just run out of room, right? They just, okay, we filled up, and we need to move, or what is that? What is that? Is that, you said it was giving birth. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, so mammals give birth and bees swarm. So the steps are these. If the hive has access to the appropriate amount of food, meaning nectar and pollen out in the environment, within usually a 2 to 3 mile radius, they will bring in that food. If that food is clean enough where it doesn't poison them, and if the genetics of the queen, and therefore the daughters that are grown from the queen laying so many eggs, if the queen is heterogeneously strong, she's got good genetics, and if the environment that they're in, the hive that they're in, is conducive to their health as well, all these factors will line up so that the hive makes it through winter, and then the next spring, they eat a lot of their honey at the very tail end of winter, because that's when they're creating new baby bees. So from Valentine's Day onward, there is a rapidly increasing part of the hive where this year's bees are being reared. So they can't wait around for the warm weather and the blossoms. They have to build up the population so that when spring really starts to emerge, there's a lot of flowers, they have a lot of young bees that are ready to go out and bring in those food sources. So by late March, sometimes middle of March, but usually late March, May, June, July, hives will, because they are, as you say, getting full up, or even if they're just strong enough, if they feel like they have enough bees where they could both send mom out with a bunch of daughters to start a new hive in a brand new location, that they have enough field force, enough worker bees to tend more babies and to bring in more nectar and pollen, they will raise new queens, and they will select one or two of those queens to become the mother of the hive at the original location, sending out at least one queen, maybe another, depending on how strong the colony is. And they will send mom out with a bunch of these daughters. They will land, they'll fly a very short distance because the queen is quite heavy. She can't fly very far, but this group will land on a limb. It's mostly younger bees, but there's definitely an important section of older bees that have already been flying the neighborhood and know the neighborhood. They know where to go for food supplies, and they may have even found a new good possible nest, a hive site. But these scout bees are on the outside of the ball. Those are if you're ever looking at a swarm, the bees you see on the outside, those are the older bees, the bees that have already been flying in the neighborhood. Most of the bees inside, they are just keeping the queen happy and are resting and waiting for the scout bees to tell them where to go. These scout bees will fly in many directions, and they will be looking for a real suitable place, either a hole in a house that leads to a nice, well-insulated, dark void, or a hole in a tree that's not occupied and has the right volume and ventilation needs for the bees, or they might find an abandoned beehive that was man-made. Anyway, they'll come back, and if they're really excited about the place, they will dance vigorously at a specific angle and for a specific duration to tell all the other scout bees that are around her, and will learn the dance, meaning where they need to go. And then it just becomes like a Michelin restaurant rating. Do you rate this as a 5-star new home, or a 4-star, or a 3-star? Or if there's nowhere else available, we can make do with this sort of home. So, and the debate will winnow out once 60% of the group agrees on a place, they will all agree. And once all the scout bees have communicated with each other that they are going, say, west, a mile and a half, and all the scout bees know that, they will begin to tell through vocalization, what's called piping, or by flying away from the swarm ball and going out a couple of feet, turning around and flying quickly and head-butting the swarm ball. That all these are ways that the scout bees communicate to the house bees, the ones that are resting, hey, we know where we're going, and let's go there. And those scout bees will guide this cloud, because they'll all melt off the limb like pouring warm water on a snowball. All the bees will take to the air one more time, and they will fly as a loose cloud of microscopic starling swarm, and these scout bees will point the way. They will go to the front of the group, excreting a pheromone. Then they will stop the pheromone and fly back to the very back to pick up stragglers, and then pick it up again, coming up from the back, guiding all these house bees and the queen to the new location, landing on the entrance that they intend to be their new home. And then they will stick their butt in the air and fan out a pheromone that travels up into the cloud, so that the cloud that didn't know where to go, they know where to go, and they'll all start to fly down and suck on into this nice, warm, dark, dry home. And the house bees especially, they took a big drink of honey back at home before they left at all, because they've got a big task in front of them. And the first thing they do is they start laying down comb in the roof area of the cavity. And eventually they'll be able to put down, nectar and pollen, and have space for the queen then to lay baby bees. And the goal is, if they can create enough nectar and pollen and baby bees to support the queen through the winter, then maybe that hive will be able to swarm the following spring.
Wow. So it becomes, each new hive is an amazing, this is so complex. And it sounds to me that bees practice direct democracy and scouts are activists.
Exactly so. I think that's a perfect analogy.
Okay, because that's just that they all have to agree. I mean, it's like you get a 2/3 majority to decide where we're going, and it's
Not even 2/3, 60%.
60%. I mean, still,
60.
it's like that's just amazing. I mean, it's amazing. And the nuances of what they do is amazing.
It totally is. Yeah.
What I just want to tell everybody what I've witnessed. All right. First of all, where we put that is right where I usually run back and forth between the front yard and the backyard. And bees hit me in the face all the time, and it's fun. That's what you get when you put the bee entrance there. In the morning, it almost seems to me, I'm serious, like I wait for them to wake up, and I'll watch, and I'll wait for like one bee to come out. And one bee will come out and be like, no, that's way fucking too cold. He'll go back in there and nobody else. Is that really what happens in the morning? Like a bee comes out to make sure it's warm enough, and then he's like, hey, everybody, you know? That's my observation. Is there any scientific proof to that?
If there is, I haven't read it. But my reply to your fun story is that just like any other creature, both the individual has its own characteristics, and then the group itself has its own personality as well.
Yeah.
So like, I have 2 siblings. I have my own personality with respect to my siblings.
Sure.
But as a group of Lacys, the 5 of us that were growing up together, we had our own little unique things that were different than any other family. So it's definitely a fractal sort of a thing in that way.
So a beehive, like all of the bees that are together in this hive, they're all kind of they're all similar bees, right? In that sense, but then they have individualness. And that leads to my next question, because this is truly a question that I have not understood since childhood.
Okay.
All right. Where do bumblebees come from? If there's none in my hive, are they a big giant hive of giant frickin' bees and they're all bumblebees? Where do they come? Because that's what I have around here. Like other than your bees that you dropped off, is these big giant ones.
Well, bumblebees are a completely different species.
Okay. So all right. So there's not a type of bee that gets made. They're in a totally different species. All right.
Right. Yeah.
See, I always thought like every hive had like, workers and drones and a queen and some bumbles. And they were like supposed to go out there and pick up a lot of stuff at once. And that was totally my view.
Bumblebees, there are hundreds of different kinds of species of bumblebees. But as bumblebees, they all have sort of the same characteristic in that it's only the queen that survives.
Oh.
Through the winter. And so on her own, and she will create her new nest by chasing out a mouse. Queen bumblebees are well known for finding mouse holes, mouse nests, and chasing out the mother mice.
Wow.
And occupying, that space. And the mother mouse just goes off and makes another, home for her babies. But she's, it's and there are YouTubes on this, which are
I had no idea. See what you get from that Google. That's amazing. So bumblebees are, at least the queen, they're badasses. Even though the bumbles, when they're around my yard, seem pretty friendly to me.
Well, bumblebees, I would say I have yet to meet any kind of pollinating insect. I would even go so far as to say even yellow jackets and wasps can be neutral if you're not near their nest. As soon as you're near their nest, some yellow jackets can be okay with being next to the nest, but it's fairly rare. Most yellow jackets tend to be really quite aggressive when you get near their nest.
Man.
Some are really smart, and they'll find exactly that one little place that's exposed between your pant leg and your socks. But there are yellow jacket nests that won't be able to figure that out. It depends on the particular nest. But bumblebees can be quite aggressive. Not always, but most of the time, bumblebees are way more aggressive than honeybees when you're right next to where their babies are in their
All right,
queen.
so when you're near their nest and you're threatening their thing. All right.
Even if you're near there, you don't even, it always helps to not have violent or fearful thoughts, because they'll be able to pick up that energy, so to speak.
That's true.
But it depends more on just sort of their nature. Some dogs are more prone to want to bare their teeth than other dogs.
Sure. Well, it's been amazing watching them. And the other thing I noticed is, at first, it looks like they're swarming all over this like a mess, a chaos. But then if you watch, it's not. You see like a whole bunch of them come in for landing, and then a whole bunch go out and like the first day, or where I was watching to see what they were doing, they would go out and do like circular spirals up, and then take off in a direction, and it's
and that's called orienting. So if a bee, all bees sort of. So if you're a bee that's born in February, March, April, May, June, all the way till like say late September into October, any bee that's born from early spring into very late summer, they typically live only 6, maybe 7, 8 weeks at the very most.
Wow.
But the first 4 weeks are always indoors. So typically a bee will live 2/3 of her life indoors and just the last 2/3 out, gathering nectar and pollen. But when they're first going out and they have no idea what sunlight is or anything, they've never been outside. Their whole life has been in the dark, smelling smells and feeling vibrations.
Right.
That's what their whole communication, that's what their senses have been attuned to. But when they're first going out into the neighborhood and they're saying, oh, I'm outside of Corvallis and my hive is facing west, I think, or east, whatever it is that we set up on your hive.
South. But yeah.
So and they'll be able to. So they'll make these bigger loops, sort of like a 4 or a 6-year-old who's just discovering the neighborhood. They'll go 1 block and then they'll go 2. There's a sort of circling back to mom, so to speak, and then going a little further.
Yeah, and even then we confused them even more because you drove them down from your place. They were like, hey, we're in even the ones that have been outdoors were like, we're in a new place. What the hell is this, right?
Yep.
So they had to get acclimated. It's been and the big thing about this that Brian explained, and I had this great video about it, but this is not like I won't be extracting honey from that hive ever. I could if I wanted to, but it would be like 2 jars at the top, and I guess people do this. But really what we're going to do is tell everybody what you're going to do now, hopefully next year, right?
Did we talk about my catching a swarm from?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about catching the swarm. So basically everybody, I have a bee factory, a hive factory, we hope, right?
Yes. Yeah, so when it gets to be March-ish, early to mid-March, you and I will just be in touch, and you'll let me know how filled out the hive is getting.
I'll send you pictures.
You can send me pictures. Because of the orientation of those sheets of comb in that box relative to where you can see them, you might be able to take a bright light, and often the frames are so stuffed with bees you have no idea what's going on. But we'll have a good sense just because of the bigness and the amount of traffic that's going in and out.
Right.
By late March, we'll have an idea. And we can most certainly put up at least 1, if not 2, swarm baits that have lemongrass in them. And there is a product called Swarm Command, which is
nice, incredible
for like catching swarms. So when those bees leave the hive, they immediately say, "Oh, let's go there. It is all set for us." It's the welcome door is wide open.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I was just pulling up the. I was gonna try to find everybody. I got you on screen here. Hang on. I'm trying to find. This is you in the house.
The installation process.
Yeah, I want to show everybody. There's the
hive.
There's the hive as it came off the back of your trailer.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, imagine this, everybody. This is your trip down to your new home in your box with windows. And you get here. But isn't that, I just wanted to show everybody close up. That's absolutely fucking beautiful. To me, that looks like coral in the sea, Yeah. And I just thought that was so unique and just so amazing. And I can't thank you enough, Brian, for taking the time to do this. It was well worth waiting a year, 2 years, however long it took to get this.
It feels like it was a year, but who knows?
No, but we started talking about it really back with the Yellow Jackets.
I think when I was helping you and Lori out with we had what we thought were bees and turned out to be Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, right? and speaking of ones that weren't aggressive because they were flying around our office.
It's true. I think if there was one takeaway for folks that are watching this where one part of their brain is fascinated and the other part of their brain is freaked out with fear, is that if you can either through watching media about it, or even better yet, contacting a local beekeeper and just wanting to hang out with live insects, it will change your mind about what their actual behavior is. And it's so rather than just live in fear about these insects, to have a more scientifically accurate and ultimately a happier life for you, because you won't feel like flying insects are out to get you.
Right.
Because they're not.
Right. And look, I just want to show you guys this. This is, so there were a few bees that did not get, they were just, they escaped because there was a hole. And this is like, that's bees eat honey. So Brian's like, oh, just get some honey. You got some honey? I'm like, yeah. So put a little drop of honey in the bee's like, cool. I'm going to hang here.
Absolutely.
I mean, you want to understand the difference in behavior. I mean, I was freaked out about wasps and yellow jackets, and because of my experience with bees, I mean, I still don't like either of them. Still freaked out, but I'm less intimidated because, I mean, I have the bees are. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just been an amazing experience.
You've been around them and you have not been stung.
Yeah.
You recognize that it's not like they're going to look you in the eye and say, oh, I'm going to sting you on the lip. It's nothing like that. It's more like, why am I not with my sisters inside my eye?
Right.
And oh, look at, there's light in that window. I'll fly towards that light. Oh, I can't get through. And then they just like any insect, like a moth, they just want to head to the light. So if anybody out there happens to have a flying insect, whatever it is, you can take a clear plastic or glass jar, glass, like a drinking glass, that's got a continuous, level lip all the way around, and get yourself a piece of paper, preferably on the stiffer side, like 90-pound weight, that sort of thing. And you just, come up behind and you just trap the insect, at the top of the glass, and you just part the glass just a little bit to slide that paper in, keep the paper on top, walk outside, lift off the piece of paper, and that insect will not come and get you. It'll just fly away into the environment.
Yeah, we see that all the time. We know this. It's true. It's true. But this is amazing. And for people who are in Oregon, this is something you do, right? Urban Bees and Gardens. So how can they get a hold of you and this is not, I mean, installing observation hives isn't what you do. Tell everybody, all that you do. I mean, you're relocating bees, right?
It's a long list of what I do with Urban Bees and Gardens. So I catch swarms. I will sell starter hives in the spring. I will do consultations with people so that they can learn techniques of how to become a more calm and successful beekeeper.
Right.
I've got PowerPoint and live bee presentations to bring to any kind of organization, business or school. For example, next Tuesday, I'm going to an elementary school and doing several programs with them there at the school. That's so awesome. I will share with children, what I know and what I want to impart to them, which is to don't fear them, to support them, to encourage not using any toxins at home. These are one of the reasons why the bees are collapsing, is that we're so normalized for us to be spreading around insect and actually human killing chemicals all the time. It's just routine for us in the United States, which is part of the reason that we have high cancer rates and other issues. Right. But it's also one of the reasons that insect populations are down so hard and why they collapse so readily.
It's absolutely. And so you're helping to just, I mean, I encourage everybody that can do it to have bees in their yard.
I'll add a little segment to that, John, which is I really only encourage people who want honey, who want propolis, or who want pollen, or beeswax rather, to really let that guide them towards being beekeepers. If they're not super excited about honey or beeswax or propolis, which bees make out of resin, which is an incredibly health-giving product that the bees make, then I encourage them to not be beekeepers. You excluded because you want an observation hive. So that's more of an educational thing. So that's why I was stoked to bring you an observation hive.
Yeah. Because
we can do programs like this. But for folks who don't want honey or beeswax or propolis, then set up mason bee homes. set up homes for leafcutter bees, and create an environment for alkaloid bees, the sweat bees that go underground, and plant. Plant trees, plant anything that's going to be long lasting, that gives early and late, food for pollinators. Those are the best things that anybody can do, is to give them more places to live, because green grass is a desert to bees, and is one more part of the world where they can't raise babies.
That's a great statement. Green grass, the 1950s bullshit garden yard, or bullshit no garden yard, right? That we had with one shrub. That we got to erase that. And Brian's seen our yard. It's like a crazy tropical. We let it. It's like crazy. So
just like mine.
Yeah, and it's so awesome. The diversity of life you get when you diversify the life in your yard is pretty amazing. It's exponential. I do encourage that. So would you? That's a great thing to say. Is that if you're not looking at wanting any of these things, mason bees are awesome. And mason bees, you guys, it's Brian on his website has a thing. I'm pretty sure you have something about how to make a mason bee holder, right?
I did. I'm rebuilding the site.
Okay. Well, we'll get it. We'll bring you back on. We'll talk about it. We held you on twice as long as I said, 40 minutes to talk to Brian about bees. But that's because it's fucking awesome and cool.
It is.
And so if you're in Oregon and you want to see this, come on down. Guys can come on down to my place to see this, or you contact Brian and he can tell you where. I know the Waldorf school in Milwaukee just got an observation hive, right?
Well, they've had one for a couple of years now. It swarmed about a week and a half ago.
Oh, all right.
And I caught the swarm that landed way up high in a cherry tree, but the limbs agreed. There was like a nice 2-inch wide limb, about 25 feet up, that I was able to send my longest ladder to, and I felt secure enough leaning it against this limb. It didn't budge much when I was up there, and got the swarm off, and I poured it into one of their hives, and
crazy to
so
hear
it's
you say
doing
that.
fine. And then about 4 days later, I came down with another hive for them as well. So the Portland Waldorf School is very excited about bee culture and learning through bees.
I'm jealous. I wish I had an observation hive in my school. I mean, that would have been so freaking cool.
Don't we all? I know.
Yeah. So, and that's the other. As a parent, that was the first thing I thought. You're right about not, if you don't want all that stuff. But I was like, man, if I could have done this for my kids, yes, we would have had one. And mother-in-law would have been like, but I would have been like, don't care. You're gone. The bees stay. So anyway, Brian, thank you so much. We will talk to you again. And I appreciate all that you do for the environment, especially the bees. Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Yeah, I do.
Thank you, Brian.
Bye for now. Bye, Marcus.
Love. Yeah. Yeah, and you can stick around an hour. He's going to get
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I was aware when he mentioned that bees are going after mouses, if they want to.
No fucking idea.
I saw this video actually on
Did
YouTube.
you really?
Yeah.
Wow, I had no clue. I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel really dumb for not knowing where bumblebees come from, but seriously, I had no idea. I just think it's cool. Oh my gosh. So you've got hi everybody. Before we talk about German government falling apart, or the parties falling apart, we got a lot of people here. Hi everybody. There's 39 of you right now. I hope you enjoyed that segment on bees. I would encourage beekeeping, because really the box bee setup and getting honey, I mean, all those things, considering we're looking at the collapse of our entire food system here in about a year, smart investment. I chose honeybees over solar panels. It was also cheaper. So anyway, you got bees in your, we saw what I saw in Germany was pretty impressive in terms of taking care of the environment, I have to say. It was really nice to see that.
And you noticed that I also got some insect hotels down there.
Yeah, you did. That's right. Marcus's mom had mason bee hives. Basically a block of wood with a bunch of holes drilled in it. That's really like they look for. You can do it with a bunch of different things. But yeah, it's really cool. It's so simple. You guys should look that up and do that. It's amazing the little tiny bees and wasps and insects and things you see that are pollinators. You don't even realize it. There's all sorts of cool little pollinators.
Yeah, and in my garden, as I'm not the gardener, not the German gardener. I keep it more wild, and I see
too.
that in
Do
my
you?
area, I got some bugs, and I got some insects, crawling
Good.
around, and
Oh, whoops.
and I think it's okay.
Yeah, I had you at the wrong camera. It's good. I'm glad you like it. We bought Marcus a plant when I was there. How's your plant?
Yeah.
How's the plant?
Audrey 3 is doing fine, absolutely.
Wonderful.
She's getting water from me on a regular basis, and greetings.
I see Laura Livengood's telling me Uphill Media we're talking about Bernie stock. Fine. Bernie stock is coming up on September 8th, right? And it's on his birthday. And I know and I think we were going to try to, yeah, September, there is Laura. September, there's the links. Laura's dropping all the links. It's going to be big. I don't know that we're going to be live streaming it, but we definitely will be capturing footage. It'll depend on what the network coverage is out there. I'm looking forward to that. I probably won't be there in person because I will be here covering it. We'll see how that works. I don't know that I want to be there in person. Anyway, Marcus, tell us what's going on with the Green Party and other parties in Germany. You mentioned the word implosion earlier.
It is not yet so far that they are going to implode, but we can see the signs on the horizon. As a matter of fact, last week we had our European Union elections here, and the result for the Conservatives and the Social Democrats, who are the government in our country, were not good. Not good. In contrary, it was devastating for them. The Social Democrats, as a consequence, lost their leading figure, Andrea Nahles, who stepped back from all offices.
Oh.
And now the Social Democrats, they're desperately trying to figure out what to do, how to reach voters again, because the Social Democrats were once a big party. They were one together with the CDU, CSU, the leading party, the big party. And now they are threatening to fall back on the third or on the fourth place, behind the Greens and even behind the right wingers, the AfD.
I see that. That's frightening. AfD is bigger than SPD. Holy shit.
And yes, and this is so frightening because the AfD now discovered the climate crisis as a topic for them, and they are writing it on the campaign on. They are deniers, they're questioning everything around it, and they say it's absolutely nonsense and bullshit. And they even gained 1% with it.
Oh my God,
this is completely stupid. So I think it is. We can say about the AfD: only idiots vote for the AfD, and the clever minds vote for the Partei. Anyway, this is not the topic we are talking about right now. As I said, it is devastating for the Social Democrats, and they lost Andrea Nahles, the boss of it all, and there is no end in sight. They lost so many elections in the past years, and they always said this is the absolute bottom ground. We cannot go lower. And every following election, they are going lower. And now the interesting part of it that we talked about them a couple of weeks ago. There is a wing in the Social Democratic Party, the young Social Democrats, the so-called users. And there's a leading figure. This is Kevin Kühnert, and he's only 29 years old. And he is not shying away from discussing what's really important, in those times, especially what the future concerns. And and he is now in a discussion to be now the leading figure who follows Andrea Nahles. This is, by the way, Kevin Kühnert, and
Okay, so he's not. This isn't the YouTuber guy, no.
No. This is Rezo. The YouTuber guy is Rezo. He's not affiliated to the Social Democratic Party.
Okay.
But he's one of the young hopes, if you want, of the Social Democrats, and we'll see if he can make it. He would be an interesting choice, but I think the Social Democrats, the party elite, would shy away from doing this drastic step and giving him this office. But you can see the desperation. You can feel the desperation there, and the same thing is going on with the CDU, with a conservative party of Angela Merkel, who is leaving, who is actually a lame duck now. She's She's not into the daily political questions involved anymore. This is over, and the successor, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, yes, she makes a very, very bad impression in the past weeks. She gave strange interviews about the freedom of speech aspect regarding social media and so on, and she lost a lot of credit. And the CDU sees what's going on with the Social Democrats, and they are fearing that the same fate is happening to them. And then you got the Green Party, who is leading now with 26 points.
Where's the Conservative Party on? I thought you said hang on, just to be clear.
Yeah, okay.
Was it Merkel's party or Lame Ducks, whoever it is? Aren't they also on the climate? Like they agree with the climate crisis or not? Where do they stand on that?
Okay. Angela Merkel's CDU. Angela Merkel once decided to go into the renewables and to shut down nuclear power stations, etc.
Right.
And she also has the plan to go away from coal until it was 2038 or something like this. But it was only a fig leaf. The Conservative Party would never do anything which would endanger the profits of the corporations and all those who vote for them. And this is a majority. So it was not worth the paper written on it in the end. And this is why the people are so pissed about this, because they see that that neither the Social Democrats nor the Conservatives have any fucking plan what to do with our future, or what our future would be there, And it is quite easy for the Green Party to say, okay, no, we cannot go on like this. We got to do real serious matters to prevent all this, at least for our own country, as far as possible. A real receipt, I don't see neither at them, But, they are the Green Party. They are the most competent party in the views of the voters. And this makes them now the favorite in the elections. And, climate change, the climate crisis is now a big topic here in Europe, especially in Germany. And it pushes the Green Party to the top. And they can see in this slide, you can see which party would give the right answers to the future, and they can see that the Greens are there with 27%, the Conservatives only 12%, and the Social Democrats only with 2%. 2% think that the Social Democrats can deliver any answers what our future concerns.
That's what this poll is. This is a poll asking.
And 45 people absolutely say fuck it. I don't have no clue. None of that.
Die Partei, your party, right? Right?
Die Partei is my party.
And they had the most. Am I reading this wrong? That they had the most? What's this 45?
No. There it says no party or I don't know. This is what.
Oh, no party. Okay, no party.
They're undecided about this, or they say no, none of that.
No party. Okay. And is that reflective of? Do you think that those numbers are reflective because of the actions of that YouTuber and his he had a lot of effect on that? You think?
I don't think this would be too dramatical, to give him so much credit.
No.
In the end, it was important, to show this, and I think it has a certain influence on the young voters. But I don't think it is such a big influence, because both parties, the big coalition of Conservatives and Social Democrats, made so many errors in the past, and they're pissed off the young voters in so many occasions. This was only just a drop. This was only the cream on the cake, though.
Sure. Pat Hacker says the U.S. Green Party is not the same as the Green Party in Europe. Do you agree? Not the same.
From what I saw, there's a big difference. Of what I saw is there are only solo fighters in the Green Party in the States, and there is no structure in it behind. As I see it, I see there is no structure, or I would say in Germany we have a better structure.
I mean, it seems like our Green Party out here is just kind of fallen apart, or seems to, I don't know what happened to it. It really wasn't together, unified. The German Party, but in terms of power, the German Party actually has power within the political structure, right? The Green Party. The Green Party has power within the political system.
The Green Party is in the opposition. They are not in government. They have been in government together with the Social Democrats, with Gerhard Schröder. And this time was not a success. Absolutely not. And,
Interesting.
But this is another story. The times have changed. And, well,
see, listen,
yes.
This is an important aspect. Like the Green Party, because parties aren't shut out and because parties have to make coalitions to get anything done in Germany, the Green Party has played an active role in politics, whereas our Green Party has never been allowed to even come close to the fucking table. We can't even get people in seats in government, or barely get a couple that are like token people, right? And that's the difference, is that your Green Party can't be disenfranchised completely because your laws don't allow it.
And yes, first this, and secondly, the Green Party has a history in Germany. It is, in my opinion, it is now a mainstream party, more or less. But if you go back into the history of the Green Party in the late 70s, where there were radical fighters against the nuclear power plants here in Germany, it was escalating. There were brutal fights between them and police and a lot of other protesters. This is how the Green Party emerged. It was a revolution against nuclear power, and also against the dying of the forests. There were many components together to build up this party. And it was an aspect of revolution. And this is not given anymore because after 40 years there is no revolutionary in any party anymore. It cannot be.
Right. Wow. Yeah, it's interesting history. It's just due to the nature of the way their parties are funded and the way they exist. Imagine that in the United States, if the Green Party had been able to have at least some equalness on the table based on funding.
The thing is, what you said is that even if the Green Party is in the opposition and cannot govern, they can put so much pressure, as it happens now, on the governing parties.
Right.
That they're seeing, oh, damn it, we are in a defensive position right now because they have this topic for their own, and we cannot do anything about it.
Right. It's really interesting to see. It's like. Here's how sad it is, everybody. In America, we can't even get a consensus in our parties around climate, or get a party that is all about climate to anywhere to discuss it with anyone. And you just saw the DNC announce that they're not going to hold a major debate on climate. Tom Perez says it's a separate issue from other issues because he's a fucking moron. And the DNC also said that any candidate that does a debate is disqualified from the other fucking debates, because that's what democracy is all about, right? Exclusion, everybody. This is just an amazing difference. So we're that far behind. Germany, while they have a Green Party and it has power and it's putting pressure on the major government, still doesn't have a fucking climate mobilization plan that's worth a shit. And they're light years ahead of us.
And the irony is that this political system was given us by who?
We helped
to prevent that in Germany ever would be a one party who would take over the lead of everything.
Well,
so the thinking was you have to build coalitions to get political things done.
Right. Amazing concept. We're different though. We're the exception. We taught you, and what we're doing is the evolution.
The winner takes it all. The winner makes the rules.
That's right. Really sad. Great discussion, and I guess that's. Oh, look! I just flop us around. There we go. I just do that so I could put me over here.
All right.
Well, thank you for addressing that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that, and good luck, Germans. I know Greta was around there recently. You got and the protests out there in Europe are getting pretty huge, right? Yeah. The climate protests. See where they go.
Oh, by the way, Düsseldorf is going to declare the state of emergency. What the climate crisis concerns.
Great.
This is only another fig leaf because it means nothing, but it's a promo thingy.
No, optics. Optics are important as we die.
Yes.
Got to look good.
Yeah.
So now we're on to my subjects, which is basically more climate stuff. And this is the heavy stuff. So I'm just going to tell everybody right now that we're getting into some heavy stuff. If you want to leave, this is the best time. We've had a great time talking about bees, and then we talked about some stuff in Germany and Marcus's parties. But now we're going to look at the reality of the climate crisis. And we're going to talk about facing the reality of the climate crisis as human beings and what that means. And it's all heavy, and it's not happy. So I suggest if you don't want a sad moment, just go smoke a bowl, get out of here. I just need to talk about this honestly for me. This is part of my therapy because I'm struggling with the grief that I'm facing every day about the complete destruction of our environment, which I see a lot of because I sit here in this box a lot. Those of you who do not know, because we have a lot of new followers, by the way. So hi, new followers and new subscribers and everybody. Thanks to that beautiful boost by the wonderful show that Laura Livegood did the other day with the KDEM special report. And that was awesome to have John Graziano and Tina Desiree Berg and Pat Cody on. And they had a phenomenal discussion. I'm hoping we do more of those. Thank you all who watched and shared. I have been dealing with... I sit here and I see, I mean, you guys got to know, like, my job is I have 1 acre of, like, the most amazing amount of plants, flora, fauna, wildlife you've ever seen. It's like an entire botanical garden packed into an acre. I didn't make it. I just maintain it. The people that lived here for 30 years before me, they made it. All right. So I was blessed, and I'll use that word, with my partner to come here and be able to care for this most amazing piece of land. And it is in stark contrast to what I see in this box. When I come in my garage, I get to look at the full assault of climate on Earth, right? And I get to realize that we are responsible. We did this. And it hits me like a fucking brick every time I read another article. Here's Japan heat wave kills 5 people. This was on May 27th. And then this was on May 29th. More than 500 tornadoes in the last 30 days. Last year, the average or whatever it is like 279, 300 tornadoes. We had more than 500. To the guy out there on Twitter who was saying, tornadoes are decreasing in amount. You're right. And that's irrelevant. You know, it's really irrelevant. If you haven't seen what's going on in the Midwest in the United States of America, you should take a peek. Because it's pretty fucking biblical. And I find that quite fitting because it's devastating the Bible Belt, which is full of a bunch of fucking climate deniers who voted for this. So I feel bad for everybody in these states that is aware of the climate crisis and that is feeling the impact of the climate crisis because people are dying. It's not like, I mean, and go watch the Weather Channel. Seriously, the best thing we could possibly do to convince centrists that this is real is to just turn on the Weather Channel and sit them in front of the fucking Weather Channel. Weather Channel's been running bit after bit on the problems with the climate crisis, explaining the science, explaining what's going on, and tying it to money. Tying it to how much billions and billions and trillions of fucking dollars it's costing us. Never mind that we've annihilated whole species. Never mind that I don't see nearly, half the bugs that I used to see around me, right? Never mind the obvious destruction we see. Just try to convince every centrist around you that it's going to cost us too much. We'd save money if we saved the human species. It's just amazing, right? The cognitive dissonance just blows my fucking mind. The continental U.S. just had the wettest 12 months in 124 years on record, and this was on May 30th. That hasn't stopped. There's more water on the way, folks. We're in hurricane season right now. Right? I mean,
It's rain.
Yeah, make it rain. The article that I really want you to pay attention to, though, is by Dar Jamal, or Jamail. I hope I really want to interview this guy someday, and I'm going to pronounce his name correct when I do. He's been writing a lot about dealing with grief and facing the reality of what we have done to this planet. And I have been struggling with that for a while. And it's very personal And what I have done to try to even cope with the grief that I feel every fucking day is to go out of my box and care for the acre. It is the only thing I can find that balances out the grief that I feel looking at all of the death that we have caused from our fucking stupidity and our greed. And I loathe the human species right now. And the only thing I can do to feel better about that, which is really what it's about. It's very selfish. I don't want to feel like an absolute fucking piece of shit. I want to die knowing that I did everything I possibly could to make it better. But in order to reach that point, you have to face the fucking reality of what we've done. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts so fucking much. It's unbelievable. I want to read you these words. This is long. I'm going to read you these words. I'm going to go as quick as I can because this is just amazing. And there's a link to a woman's work named Joanna Lacy. And it's finding work with purpose. Doing something right now while we watch our entire biosphere fall apart that brings purpose to you. And it's hard to do when we're all trying to work jobs and we hate our fucking jobs. We got to work these jobs because, capitalism. But we have never experienced anything like this. We are living within the full knowledge of our collapsing biosphere and watching huge portions of it vanishing before our very eyes. Meanwhile, the industrial growth society, right, continues to grind on and this veneer of normalcy persists. That's what eats at me, is that this bullshit facade that everything's okay continues. And I'm waiting. I've been pulling on a wire and it will not break. Turning up a dial, I hear no sound, and that is I want to see humanity wake the fuck up and panic. That's what Greta's been waiting for. And while millions of people around the world are waking up, the people that aren't fucking waking up are the people in power. The ones we need to wake up. The people working the oil rig. I don't care about your fucking jobs. I just gotta be honest. I don't care about anybody's job. I care about the survival of our planet and our species. Fuck capitalism and fuck our jobs. Our jobs should be caring for this fucking planet. That's what my job is. I'm very proud of that job. But I'm lucky enough to be able to do that job because I live with a partner that unfortunately has to spend her time working a fucking job that is fucking meaningless. Right? It's fucking servitude. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's fucking disgusting. We are having a great awakening, but this guy's been talking about giving lectures and discussing his own grief. His experience has shown him that by facing what is happening head on, allowing our heart to break, which is happening to me daily, unfortunately. I spend my mornings grieving, talking to plants. Last night, I was looking at the sunset. It was an amazing fucking sunset. And there was a swarm of bugs, which I was happy to see. Just a swarm of gnats. How many times have you been like, fucking get out of gnats? I was like, hey, ball of gnats. How are you? And I reached up my hand, and it kind of swarmed all down my hand. And I was like, hey, I'm so glad you're fucking here. I appreciate your existence. And I walk around my yard and talk like that all the time. I probably seem like a fucking lunatic to everybody around me. I don't give a fuck. I wish every human being talked to the life around them that way and treated it with respect. That's what we're supposed to be fucking doing. And it's so frustrating. I scream and scream. My neighbors know I'm a fucking nut. I'll come out here at 4 o'clock in the morning like, fuck you all. You fucking... Ugh. Because what do you fucking do? And then I get in my car and I drive to Safeway. Because I can't escape the systems we put in place that continue to fucking destroy our planet.
You know what I mean?
I'm... Joanna Lacy. Refusing to feel pain and becoming incapable of feeling the pain, which is actually the root meaning of apathy. Refusal to suffer. That makes us stupid and half alive. And that is what we are as a fucking species. Stupid and half alive. Macy told me in an interview, she described how the refusal to feel pain doesn't mute the sense that there is something wrong, which is really fucking important. Humanity knows something's wrong. Even the dumbest motherfucker in Alabama knows there's something wrong. Sorry, Alabama, I'm gonna pick on you because you're fucking stupid. Just really fucking stupid with your government lately, and your abortion and your fucking law school. Even the dumbest motherfucker in Alabama feels something wrong. The problem is they're too fucking stupid to know what it is, so they take that out, they project that on something else. And as she says, usually it's fucking marginalized communities, minorities. It's Muslims, right? They're the problem. They're the reason I feel upset. I'm too uneducated and fucking ignorant to recognize that it's my connection to this planet that's the problem. So I'm going to blame it on the black person or the brown person, or whatever, the libtard. Because we all as a species are feeling this. We're feeling it. We know. We're in the pot. We're feeling it. It's hot. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And you know, not feeling the pain is extremely costly. Yeah, it's cost us our fucking species. It's cost us our fucking species. Macy created a framework for personal and social change called Work That Reconnects. I put a link to this in the description, and I'm going to look at it. There's also a link to this article. I'm only covering a few pieces of the article, and I don't mean to lecture you. I said I was doing this piece for me today. I just need to get it off my chest. I just need to tell everybody, if you're not panicked, and this is what Greta means by panicking. Let me tell you how I came to that and why I'm so frightened of it. I watched my mother die very slowly and horribly from cancer. She had tumors that were just all inside her body. You could see them poking out of places in her body. It was frightening. Could you imagine being a human being knowing that you've got tumors growing around your heart, your lungs, and your internal organs, and you're just waiting for them to crush them enough for you to die? That was her death for months. And the only thing that kept her sane was morphine and fentanyl. Because once you're on those, you don't remember that your lungs and heart are being crushed by tumors and you can't really feel them. But as that wears off, there comes a point where if you don't dose up in time, you remember. And I can't tell you how many fucking times my mom would go, and would come to me and say, I'm gonna die. I can feel it. And I would go, I know. Do you want some morphine? Do you want a fentanyl patch? Or do you want to be cognizant of it? And my mom would always go back and forth. Sometimes she didn't want to be drugged. She just wanted to, you know? But that's what I do every day with the environment. Did you see what just happened? The thing is, you can't go up to the average human being on the street and say that. You can't even go to your partner in the next room. They're not experiencing that right now. Right? And that's the problem. Not everybody's panicking. Not everybody has gone. We all need to do that as a fucking species. We need to do that if we're going to survive. And that is what I have been struggling with. That is what I have been struggling with is coming off the morphine. You know? And so, I know this was really hard to listen to, and I'm sorry. This is the final stance. It says, Dear reader, I urge you to find your own work that reconnects, or to find another way to ground yourself. As you read on, and as we each travel through another crisis-ridden day into an increasingly bleak future. Because that's what's happening. And I'm not saying it's hopeless, because we all have hope. I have hope that our efforts will lead to a better planet. And that's the only hope I have. That my responsibility will allow me to die a little peacefully. I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you, John. It was very, very moving and coming to the last thing you said hope. Well, I think for me it is an inner fight between hope and reasoning and seeing what's going on. And, and every time what we see in our daily life makes it even harder to keep up hope, right?
It does. Depends on what we see, but for the most part right now, yeah, I'm seeing a lot more bad than good,
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And, thank you. Thank you for letting me get that out, everybody. Appreciate it. Love you all too. I hope we make it. Seriously, I hope we do. I'm not counting on it, but I hope we do.
Yeah,
That's
we can only hope, right?
Yeah,
And this is why we are doing this here.
it is. That's it.
Yeah.
We had a great, like I said, we had that great KDM show, and tomorrow Larry's going to talk about the corruption more with another parliamentarian, which should be good because I'll go over a lot of the nitty-gritty details. And what'd you pick for music story time, Marcus? What do we got here?
It's quite easy. It's a one-hit wonder. It's William DeVaughn, and he came up in 1974 with, in my opinion, one very, very cool and nice song, Be Thankful for What You Got. It was covered many times. It was covered, for example, in the 80s by Massive Attack.
Oh.
Very, 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 very cool song. And of course by Arthur Lee and Love. And,
Really?
Yes. And it was only one-hit wonder. He tried several other songs, but no one could reach this one because, in my opinion, it's a perfect song. And to beat this is nearly impossible.
Be thankful for what you got.
Yeah.
William DeVaughn. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great
Appreciate all of
weekend,
you.
guys, and tune in again.
Yes.
Though you may not drive a great big Cadillac, gangsta white walls, TV antennas in the back. You may not have a car at all, but remember, brothers and sisters, you can still stand tall. Just be thankful for what you got. Though you may not drive a great big Cadillac, diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging the scene with a gangster lean, gangster white walls, TV antennas in the back. You may not have a car at all, but remember, brothers and sisters, you can still stand tall. Just be thankful for what you got. Diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging the scene with a gangster lean. Woo. Diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging the scene with a gangster lean. Woo. Diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging the scene with a gangster lean. Woo. Though you may not drive a great big Cadillac,